Hello and welcome back to another video, and thank you for supporting my last video. It felt a bit of a mess because I got the giggles and whatever, but it done very well, and thank you for the new subscribers. Hopefully you're going to stick around for this one. Please, if you do watch the video, hit subscribe. I think it's something like 98% of the views on that last video weren't subscribed. Maybe they didn't enjoy it because I didn't subscribed after, but anyway, this one's a little bit different. So this one is about Jake and Sarah. And they lived in Stanford-Hope, and a very nondescript house in Stanford, and this is back in 1996. Now Jake was 27 and Sarah was 25, and they decided to go away for a weekend break, mainly because England had got knocked out of the Euro 1996 final, and Jake didn't want to be around the area with his friends and celebrating. He didn't take the defeat too well, and nor did I, if I remember correctly, at the same time. Yeah, it was a bit disappointing back then. I really thought we was gonna win it, and football was coming home. But anyway, they decided to go away for a couple of days, and they chose to go up to Staffordshire, or East Staffordshire, and they stayed in a place just off of Chester Road. Now, what I've written down is it was Cottage Mews is where they stayed. Now, although this is important, I put a photo up of what I believe is Cottage Mews. Now, there are other Cottage Mews around there, and this location has got a few of them around it. Now, what they were, these were old converted miners' houses. Some of them were quite big and some quite small. I say this is a shot in the dark of what one this is. Now, Jake and Sarah have done quite well for themselves. I say such a young age, but they already owned their own little place down in Stanford. And as I say, it's a nondescript house, and getting away for a little while gave them a bit of freedom to enjoy the countryside. And they spent a few days going all over Staffordshire, going over to Chester as well. Now, one thing they noticed that on the back of the door of the cottage, every time they opened it and shut it, it would slam, and there would be a miner's lamp on the back of the door, and it kept lifting up and banging against the door. So what Jake decided to do was to take it off and put it down at the side by the door. Unfortunately, only a few hours later, Sarah coming through the door smashed the lamp, and it went flying across the floor, and all the metal bracings come off of it. Now, they panicked, and they thought they'd broken something, so what they did, they stuck it in their bag and decided to take it home. And they liked it. Sarah really liked this lamp as well, and she thought that she could repair it and maybe keep it if they could actually fix it. Now, they didn't think it was very important at the time. Oh, what a mistake. Late afternoon on the 30th of June 1996, Jake and Sarah packed up their stuff and headed homewards. Now, they had a great time, and their journey home was quite uneventful. They got home and they unpacked their stuff. This is where Sarah came across the broken lantern, and she decided that she was just going to put it over in the corner and see if they could repair it later on. A few days went past, and Jake sat down and he put the lantern back together, and they fixed it, he polished it up, and it looked quite good. Now, it's an old miner's lamp, and they were made by, I believe he said Eccles or Eckel or something like that. I will have a look and stick some photos up with what it looks like. Unfortunately, this is a report that I've had for quite a few years, and I've actually lost contact with Jake and Sarah, so they may recontact me after they see this video out. It wasn't gone to our website that we had years ago for Paranormal, but we never got around to doing it. So I know they're okay with me telling the story, but some of the details are a little bit foggy, so I'm only going by my reports I've got written down. Jake and Sarah have been back to work for a couple of weeks, and nothing out of the ordinary had happened. Jake and his mates decided they can go away for the weekend and go for a golf night. So Sarah was staying at home in the house. Now, this never usually bothered Sarah, but on this night, around about 2 o'clock in the morning, she woke up and she felt like she couldn't breathe, and the air was really, really hot, and she was gasping for air, and she got out of bed and she was running around, and she went into the bathroom splashing water on her face, and it wasn't helping. She said the temperature in the house was just incredible, and she was sweating and she was gasping, and she was thinking she was having a panic attack. And after a little while she calmed herself down, but the heat in the house was so oppressive. She threw open the windows. Now, we're going into August time, so it was quite hot anyway, but she said this was an unnatural heat, and the heat was just rising through the house and it opened up the windows, and this cold air piled in and it helped her calm down. But she couldn't work out how the house got so hot all of a sudden. The radiators weren't on, nothing else was on there, nothing else is in the house that could produce a heat that intense. But after cooling down, she actually finally went back to bed. And this time she had a nightmare, and her dream was that she was trapped in a very, very confined space. And again, she couldn't breathe, and the heat was coming in, and she was choking. And she woke up, and it was about 5 o'clock in the morning. She woke up literally choking as if she couldn't breathe. Then she thought maybe she had laid face down in a pillow or something like that was causing her to choke. That was it for Sarah. She got up and went downstairs, had some breakfast and sat there and just thought, I'm not going to go back to sleep. Unfortunately for Sarah, obviously her boyfriend Jake weren't going to be home that night, so she was going to have another night on her own as well. During the day she didn't really think much about it. She went out, she met some friends, she come back, got ready for bed. And again, soon she woke up, couldn't breathe, and she felt as if she was being choked and there was no air about. This time she got up and started heading down towards the bathroom, and she said the house was full of smoke and it was so intense, and she thought the house was on fire. And she's running down the stairs trying to get out the front door. She runs out the front door, and as she was doing so, the milkman was coming past, and she's shouting out, "Fire, fire, my house is on fire." He turned around and said, "Okay, we'll call the fire brigade." She ran next door, knocking on the door to tell them that the house is on fire, and the milkman did not know there was no one else in the house. So he actually got up and started going into the house, and he noticed there was nothing in there. There was no smoke, there was no heat, there was nothing wrong with the house at all. And he goes round to Sarah, who's actually now trying to get the neighbours out of their house because she thinks her house is on fire. And he's going, there's nothing wrong. There's no smoke. There's nothing. I can't smell burning or anything. Sarah's really, really puzzled. And she goes, but I couldn't have the smoke. It was so dense I couldn't see. They went back in there. Sarah looked round. And she actually believed that she was dreaming. That it was a vivid dream. And the smoke that was all in her mind. And there's the only way that she could explain it. Later that afternoon, Jake come home and Sarah explained to him what had happened. He laughed and said, vivid dreams and all this sort of stuff. And that's what they put it down to, that she must have been having these vivid dreams. And he joked, "Oh, you're eating too much cheese." The same sort of things you do when something strange is happening. You look for an explanation. And they couldn't find one. They just thought, overactive imagination. Could be something she'd been watching on TV or something that triggered it. That week, Sarah had to go away with work. Now, she was only away for 2 nights. She was away for Tuesday and Wednesday night. Jake was fine with that. Again, this was a regular occurrence in their working life, so it wasn't out of the ordinary. He was sitting there a nice summer's evening. He'd been out in the garden and he had a couple of his friends round. They had a little midweek barbecue and they went home. He come back in, he'd had a couple of beers and he put the telly on and he was sitting there watching the telly. All of a sudden he thought that he could see smoke coming through the kitchen. He went out and he checked the barbecue. The barbecue was out, there's no smoke coming out of it. He turned around and walked back into the living room area, and he said the living room was just full of dense black smoke. And again, like Sarah had, he presumed the house was on fire, but he could not see where any fire was coming from. They haven't got a chimney, so it wasn't as if they'd started a fire in the chimney. It was summer. It was like no reason for the house to have this big thick black smoke. And he said it was choking. He said the smell was like burning oil, and he couldn't breathe. He went out into the garden. He shouted over his neighbour's fence. The neighbours had been out there. They popped over and joined the lads for the barbecue earlier on. He comes over, and again, like before, the neighbour looks at the house, and the smoke weren't there. Jake's like, "I'm not mad. I see that was dense smoke." And the neighbour looks at him and said, "You and your missus are losing the plot, mate. You got to sort it out. This is like within the space of like a week. You keep saying that there's smoke in your house." Is there something in there that could be causing it, then drawing it back out? Because you seem honest. Your panic is real when you see this. And Jake's sitting there scratching his head. He can't work this out. After that, Jake decides he's going to call it a night, and he goes to bed. And he, like Sarah, got woken up about 2 o'clock in the morning. This time, not by smoke, but by screaming. He could hear men shouting and screaming. And he woke up at the start. He jumps up. He could hear it. He thought he was out in the street. He opened up the windows. There was no one out there. The screaming was coming from inside the house. And he thought, actually, it's coming from downstairs. He goes down the stairs. He can hear all this screaming. And he starts panicking. Next thing he knows that he wakes up at the bottom of the stairs. Later on that day, he puts it to maybe he was sleepwalking. But he doesn't know that this missed time gap. He remembers getting up. What put his mind at ease that he wasn't actually sleepwalking was he had opened up the bedroom windows and the landing windows when he was looking for where the screaming was coming from. And they were still open. So he now assumes that maybe he had passed out or fallen down the stairs, or he woke up with such a jump that he run down the stairs and blacked out. But he woke up on the bottom of the stairs and he couldn't explain this. So these events were getting a little bit regular. The smoke, what Sarah had seen, what he had seen, and the blacking out was quite a new one. He's never blacked out in his life before. So he was honestly concerned. And there's nothing in the house that had changed that they could think of. And the house was a fairly new build. It wasn't like an old historic building. It wasn't nothing like that. Already he thought about ghosts and all that sort of stuff. When Sarah was talking to him, now the first thing they jumped to was like a ghost or something. But again, there's no evidence of anything other what you'd think would be a ghost. Like seeing people in the corner of your eye and all that. Nothing was happening. It was this dense smoke they kept getting in the house. So on Wednesday, he got up, went to work after the strange events the night before. He didn't tell anyone about it. He come home half expecting something was going to happen again that night. He went to bed and a very, very decent night's sleep. He woke up in the morning. Everything was absolutely perfect. He got up, went to work. Sarah was coming home that night. So they was meeting at 6 o'clock down at Stanford Station, and they could go home together. As they opened up the front door, the house was full of soot. And everything was completely covered in thick black soot. And they're literally scraping up off the sides of their units, and everything was just covered. All the kitchen, the landing, the living room, the bathroom, it was all covered in the soot. And it's like, have you left the windows open? Has something happened? Has somebody demolished something and it's all coming through the open windows? And Sarah was just at a wit's end. She started crying. And Tony said, this is too much. Are you having a joke with me? Did you do this because what I said? Is this a payback? Is this a joke on me? And Jake is like, no, this honestly, nothing to do with me. And he was really freaked out about it. He couldn't work out where this had come from. And I've got really bad hay fever. I keep pausing it. My eyes are streaming. My nose is bunged up. My throat is dry. I'm a right mess, but I keep telling these stories as it is and try not to lose my voice. So Sarah actually went out and went to her mum's while Jake tried to hoover up and sweep up the soot. And it took him forever. He was just sweeping it. And it was just leaving black streaks over everything he did. So what he decided to do, he was going to call his friend who was like a carpet cleaner but had these big vacuums, an industrial like vacuum cleaner. So he called his friend up and he said, yeah, you come around and get it and it should do the job. He goes around his house, he loads up this big vacuum cleaner into his car, goes back, opens up the front door and all the soot has just disappeared. Now, what he finds strange is that the bags that he had been putting, the bin bags, they had been putting all the soot in, were just empty. They were there, he'd got them out, they were on the floor, and one of them was half full before he left the house, and now it was empty with nothing in it at all. As if the soot had just vanished, just disappeared. He phones Sarah up and goes, "There's no soot." And she goes, "What, you cleaned it all?" "No, there's no soot. It's vanished." This completely threw both of them off track. Now they are thinking only paranormal stuff could be going on. So he contacted a specialist medium to come around and clear the house. Now, I've worked with specialist mediums over the years. I've found two good ones that, if you've watched my videos, Stephen Elaine, I do trust them. Never been able to trick them. So I'm still sceptical about specialist mediums. But for Jake and Sarah, this was sort of like pushing their boundaries, that they've never got involved in anything like this before. So they didn't know what to expect at all. Unfortunately, the specialist mediums couldn't come till Monday. And this was now Wednesday night coming into Thursday. So they had a few nights where they were worried what they were going to do. Sarah didn't really want to stay in the house, but Jake convinced her that everything was going to be fine. And Thursday night was perfect. Friday night was perfect. Saturday night, all hell broke loose in the house. Jake and Sarah went to bed just after midnight. They got woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning with what can only be described as a furnace heat. And they felt like they were being burnt alive. But there was no smoke. There was no flames. It was just this intense heat. They both got out of bed, gasping for air. They opened up the bedroom door and everything was just pitch black. Literally, they could not see in front of their eyes, and they started choking as if it was smoke. But there was no, it was just darkness. There was no smoke there at all. They started hearing this screaming and shouting, and as they came out onto the landing seemed to get longer. They was walking along the landing, and it was never ending. And like one of those dreams you have of where you're at a corridor and you're running down that corridor and it stretches forever. But this is in pitch black. They're walking down their own landing where they know the wall should be, and they kept going and going and going. And the darkness, they couldn't even see each other's faces. It was so dark. Finally, they come to where their stairs were to lead downstairs. And they both, holding on and touching sides of the railings, going down the stairs, made their way towards the kitchen area. Again, pitch black. But all of a sudden they see this light standing there in front of them, and they both described it as a young man, maybe in his 20s, that was clearly a miner. He looked in distress, he was crying, his face was covered in soot, and he was reaching out to them for help. And he was saying words, but words weren't coming out of his mouth. But he was mouthing something to them that they could not work out. And as they walked closer to him, he faded into the darkness. Just behind him was the lamp, the miner's lamp that they'd taken from the cottage up by Staffordshire. As they looked at the lamp was glowing. Jake picked the lamp up, opened up the door and put it outside the house. As he did that, all the light come back into their house. Sarah was now on the floor, crying, having a panic attack. She wanted to go to her mum's straight away. Jake didn't want to stay in the house neither. So they actually both ended up sleeping in the car outside Sarah's mum's house. So that is how it affected them so much. They didn't return to the house till Monday, when the spiritualist mediums turned up. And straight away, the spiritualist mediums walked around the house and said, "There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. There's no evil feelings in your house at all." And Jake went, "Well, can you just check this lamp?" The spiritualist mediums picked the lamp up, and when they felt really, really sad, really sad. This lamp was tragic. And those are the words they used. The lamp was tragic. And it didn't belong there. Well, Sarah and Jake knew straight away what they had to do was to get that lamp out of their life. Now, Jake had repaired it, and it was all shiny and brass, and it looks really nice. He didn't want to go back to the place and give it back, because then he'd have to admit that they took it, which was quite difficult. That basically they stole it. So, but Sarah said they had to, in case. Now Sarah referenced this as like something as Scooby-Doo, an old 80s film that she'd seen, where this thing had to be returned to the house where it come from. Otherwise they were going to be haunted and possessed for all their life. And so she convinced Jake that they had to drive back up to this place in Staffordshire and give it back. And they did. So the following day after the medium's been there, the Tuesday, they both took the day off work. They got in the car, they drove up through Birmingham, went to the place at the East Staffordshire, walked up, knocked on the door, no answer, and they was just about to leave the lamp outside the front door when a cleaner come up the path, and she said, "Oh, the lamp's back." She goes, "Where did you find it?" And they lied and said, "Oh, well, accidentally ended up in their luggage," and they'd thought, they'd be honest and bring it back. And she goes, "But it used to hang on the back of the door." And she knew straight away that guilty conscience, they stole it and just brought it back, and thought they could get away with just putting it by the door and going off. And she said that this is a very historic lamp, and it has quite significant importance to the community. Straight away, Jake and Sarah went cold, after all what had happened. And the cleaner told them the story. And the story is that lamp was used by a miner who died in the Hampstead colliery collapse, or fire actually, in 1908. And Hampstead was a village just outside. There was a big colliery, big mines down there. And in 1908, the mine shafts caught fire and 26 people died. And they didn't burn to death, but they literally got overcome by fumes and smoke. Straight away, Jake and Sarah just started crying. There was an answer for them. They knew they'd done the right thing. And they also knew that what they'd been going through was real. Well, real for them anyway, because other people had come in and not seen anything. But they knew that somehow they'd upset the miner who owned this lamp, who lost his life in that mining disaster. So I've had a little bit of a dig around and looked at this Hampstead colliery fire. And yeah, 26 people did die, and they were local or just outside the area. And it was a big disaster. You had people from Yorkshire coming down to try and help doing it and put it out. And it burned for a couple of days, and a rescuer also died in it as well. So it was quite a tragic event, one of the bigger tragedies they'd had in the area. And there's a memorial up there now that has all the names of all the people that died in it. Stick some photos of some of the stuff that I found on here. It's got a list of the names of all the people who died. Knowing that one of those miners on that is possibly the trigger for all these events that had happened, and the owner of this lamp. Quite interestingly, on my notes of this story at the time, I listed down something that was inscribed on the back of the lamp. And it was actually in memory of 26. So obviously this lamp was a special thing, and it was kept on that door for a reason. And later they were told the reason that lamp was kept on the door was because it always meant when he come home, he'd put the lamp on there, and when his sons go up to go to school in the morning, they'd see the lamp up there, and they knew that Daddy got home safe. And that's quite a hard thing to take on board when you realise that he did lose his life down there. And that was their keeping message. They did find his lamp. They put it on the back of the door as a reminder to the children that their dad was always watching them. So this is a bit of a damn beat video. Not much laughing in this one, unfortunately. But again, if you like the videos, share them around, subscribe, and I've really enjoyed reading the comments on YouTube as well. Put the comments on YouTube. It's been great to interact with you all and answer further questions on them. I don't always get all the information out in one video. I like to keep them a little bit shorter. I know I waffle on sometimes, but I've always got a little bit more evidence or information I can add to a video. So just ask me questions in the comments, and again, if you like it, subscribe or give it a thumbs up or comment and share it to anyone who wants it, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.